So, picture this. You're the home team playing in extra innings of the sectional championship game that, if you win, your team's going to state. You're also playing a team that should be at least 3 times better than yours on paper. It would be the ultimate upset. Now, if you lose, no big deal. You're in the winner's bracket, so you would get another shot tomorrow. Now, imagine it's a tie game and you're on the mound pitching. You've been doing the same motion for every pitch in that inning. There are runners on first and third with 2 outs. You throw the first pitch of the batter, they hit a short pop-up that seems like it will land in the hole between the first and second baseman. But your second baseman is flying towards where the ball might land. He dives and just snaps it in his glove before it hits the ground. Great job. It might have been a little ugly of an inning, but that was the 3rd out. You're going to the bottom half of the inning with a chance to walk off to state. Your coaches and parents are going crazy for how great of a play that was as you step past the foul line towards the dugout. Except that wasn't the 3rd out. Because at the moment that you step past the foul line, one umpire calls a balk on you, meaning the pitch nor play counted, and to make matters worse, both runners move up 1 base, which means instead of getting out of the inning unscathed, you now have to get another out down by 1 run with the runner in scoring position. Everyone on your team, from your teammates to your coaches to your parents, are shocked beyond comprehension. They know it was a terrible call, and you yourself know it was a terrible call. Thankfully though, on the very next pitch, the batter pops out to first base, and this time there's no balk. You go to the bottom half of the inning, your team only gets 1 runner on first base and nothing else. You lose and have to play another game. If you're the pitcher in that situation, how would you feel? How would you react? Let me know in the comments. Now let's get out of our imagination for now because it's time for the second day at the Porterhouse Schoolhouse. So if you've been playing for long enough, like I have, you know, like me, that we've all had those frustrating moments that can just bog us down mentally to no end. And for this video, based on the experience that I have with baseball, I want to give you guys my top 5 tips on how to deal with those frustrating moments. So without further ado, let's get started with number 5. Understand that baseball is a game of failure. This one seems kind of obvious. If you showed up to my previous class, you may have noticed that I pointed this concept out at least a few times, and there's a good reason for that. This game is hard. We consider a great batting average to be 300. For hypothetical example, if you had 10 at-bats, that means you'd only get a hit on 3 of those 10 tries. That's a 30%. That's a failing grade. For a legendary batting average, 400. 4 out of 10, 40%. Whereas if you take that percentage with other sports like basketball or American football, if your true shooting percentage or your passing percentage was 40% or even 50%, that's not going to cut it. That's considered bad there. But in baseball, 40% batting average, that's elite. It's also important to note that you guys are still learning. Yes, even you older players who have been playing since you were 4, you're still learning too. So while we do our best to try and make all the plays as possible, understand that errors and other mistakes are just bound to happen. And the more you understand that, the more you'll probably have a positive attitude going into games, which will certainly help you out for the future. Number 4. Talk to your coach or trustworthy teammate after a frustrating play happens. If you made an error, had a bad inning on the mound, or just struck out or popped out or grounded out, talk to that one trustworthy teammate or coach and be honest with them about what you did and ask them what they saw. They'll provide you with their feedback and might give you some advice to help you for the future. That's also helpful because if you have that one trustworthy teammate, or maybe even a couple or more, or that one trustworthy coach, you'll feel a lot better going into the future knowing you can trust them for even when you're at your lowest, or just after you made an error. Either one. Number 3. Know that there are a ton of factors that go into the game's final outcome. I'm not saying brush off the play in question from memory. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that everyone on the team contributes to the final outcome one way or another. And I'm going to use that example in the beginning of the video once again, just to prove my point. So, quick recap. Game was tied at 6. In the top of the 8th, that would have been extra innings. 2 runners on, 2 outs. Now, hold on a second. How do those 2 runners get on? Why are there 2 outs? Why is it in extra innings? Why is the game tied at 6 specifically? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself when reviewing the game afterwards. If you just think about that one play, that one terrible block call, and nothing else, you're forgetting about how the fact that your team on the previous batter made an error with 2 outs that would have gotten you out of the inning, or the fact that you were down 6-0 at one point. I mean, what happened to the pitching and defense now? Come on. Or the fact that you had a chance to at least tie the game in the bottom of the 8th or even win it in the bottom of the 8th. You only needed 1 run to do it, but you couldn't do it. Or the fact that you had a whole nother game to play and you lost it. But nobody talks about that just because that one play stuck out the most. And it certainly affected it, but again, it's just a factor, not the full reason. Number 2, understand that this game is very unpredictable. This one is similar to number 5, but I put it higher on the list because baseball is a crazy unpredictable sport. Even the craziest of moments can happen here. Whether that's the best player messing up at the worst possible time, bottom of the lineup hitters getting very clutch hits that turn out to have a huge impact on the final score, or, hold on, I'm slipping my mind here, come from behind victories that barely make any sense at all. Yeah. So when you have those moments, you have to go into every game with the mindset of, okay, the game's never over until the final out is recorded or until the walk-off run scores. Even if you're up by 5 runs, down the other team down to their last strike, or you're on the other team down to your last strike, still have the mindset of, okay, let's make the play. Game's not over yet. Because if you get that overconfident, it might come back to bite you in future games or maybe even on the very next pitch with a bad misplay. I've seen on multiple occasions from my teams and even my opponents where they or we have a decent lead that just gets squandered in the last couple of innings because everybody on the team just checked out mentally. So don't do that, okay? And finally, my personal favorite, which of course I had to put at the top, number 1, play with short-term memory during the game and expand to long-term memory after the game is finished. Has your team ever played an awful inning on defense and when you get back to the dugout, one of the things that your coaches says is, forget about it? Well, they do that for a good reason. It's not because they don't care about the misplays in question, it's because they want you to focus on the next play that's ahead, which is more important than the past. At least during the game, that is. So with the exception of the final play of the game, whenever there's a frustrating moment, you have to take a breather, tell yourself that, all right, it's okay, calm down, let's get the next guy. And even if you weren't involved in the play, you should have that mindset too, because that play, as I've probably said earlier, already affects the whole team. And I know it can be frustrating, stuff can sting sometimes, but please do not belittle your teammates just because they simply made a mistake. You're just as susceptible to making the mistake as they are. So I don't want to hear any of this, oh, he or she cost us the game because they booted the ground ball at the worst possible time. They struck out on a pitch that was terrible. Stop. No, they didn't. They contributed to the loss, sure, but it's just a factor, not the full reason. All right? As for after the game, I'm advising you to expand to long-term memory because that's just how you learn. Pick apart all parts of the game, both the good and the bad that you can remember, and you'll slowly start to realize that there's a lot of factors that go into the final outcome. But more importantly, if you keep your mind at short-term memory during the game, you'll have a much easier time focusing on the next play. And that's today's lesson. The story I referenced in the beginning, if you couldn't tell already, is based on true events. If you want to know which team I did reference, take to the comment section and type this in specifically right here. If we get enough of those, I might reveal what team it was closer to Christmas time, so stay tuned for that. But other than that, if you have any other comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, type those in the comments as well, leave a like, share this with your family, friends, and teammates. And if you don't want to miss out on the next class, or as I say, if you want to be early to next class, hit the red subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be early. All right? Class is dismissed.